Everybody. Happy New Year. I've been thinking for a long time, I've been doing some videos in German and I really don't have many German subscribers, but I want to continue showing you some videos that are specific to at least Germany, and I was thinking, yeah, what I'm gonna do if you guys don't speak German. So I came up with a great idea. I'm just gonna translate it. And here's something very interesting I dug up. For those of you who speak German, go watch it in German. It is going to be in German. But here I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to try to at least give you the gist of it, try to translate it. And maybe a lot of you, and this is going to be something that for the English-speaking people, they probably never saw this. Most Germans probably don't know it either, but maybe some do. But if as for people who aren't German, they probably never saw this. So I think this is really going to be interesting. Most of you probably saw, I hope, well, maybe some of you hopefully saw the movie Das Leben der anderen. The international title is The Lives of Others, with Ulrich Mühe, great actor, by the way. Go check out every movie that he was in, because he's not only a great actor, but it's like every movie this guy was in is a great movie. So go check it out if you like, German movies. And luckily, of course, those movies are all subtitled. And Das Leben der anderen, The Lives of Others, did very well internationally. So chances are, if you're one of my American subscribers, you probably know it. And some of my German subscribers, well, maybe not all of them know it, because it wasn't as successful in Germany as it was internationally. Because in Germany there was still some, there's still some people who are very fond of Eastern Germany, and then they kind of obstructed this movie in Germany because it kind of exposed, the darker side of Eastern Germany, and there was still some resistance within Germany with movies like that. So this movie did better internationally than it did in Germany. But anyway, it's a great movie. You should watch it, and you have to watch it to understand what I'm going to show you now, because what I'm showing you now is the real deal. In this movie, you see Ulrich Mühe's character. He's this Stasi instructor, and he's instructing, his students basically on how to spy people, on how to arrest people, on how to oppress people, on how to control people's thoughts, on how to control political opinion, how to oppress other views, stuff like that. That's basically what the Stasi did, So and they're showing a little how he's instructing them. But here's the real deal. Here's a movie. It's not a movie. Here's a instructional movie that was actually used back in the day to instruct Stasi officers, and this is the real deal. This was actually showing them, how to arrest people, teaching Stasi spies how to arrest people, how to spy on people, and stuff like that. This is actual instructional movie from back in the day that was declassified. And of course it's going to be in German. I'm going to try my best to give you at least the gist of it so that you can understand what's going on. It's very interesting. And Stasi is basically an abbreviation for basically what it says here, Ministerium für Staatssicherheit, which means Ministry of State Security. And on the bottom it says Schulungsvideo Revisor, whatever that means. This is one of their code names, Schulungsvideo means instructional video, and Revisor is basically the code name they're using. They're using all kinds of stupid code names, playing secret agents, If you watch The Life of Others, you know how they're using code names and stuff, and they like using code names. Anyway, the code name of this video is Revisor, and it talks about ungesetzliche Verbindungsaufnahme, which means illegally making contact. Basically, this refers to people who try to make contact with the West. Back in the day when the Berlin Wall was still standing. And it didn't refer to people actually crossing the wall. It just meant, it was just referring to people who tried to get into contact with people from the West, talking to them, stuff like that. And that was illegal, yes. So now the dude starts talking. I try my best to, make it possible so that you can still hear my voice and not his. Because, as I said, this is going to be for the English speaking people. If you speak German, you can just watch the original video. You don't need me explaining it. And now he comes with all his codename mumbo jumbo, and he's quoting, the legal code from back in the day, how it is illegal, for people to make contact with people from the West, and he's talking about how in January 1984, they started an operation spying on somebody who tried to do that, and now they're going on talking about it, and they're talking about how they arrested this person and put him on trial for making contact with the West, which was extremely evil, of course, which was yeah, you know how it works. And this instructional video is supposed to show the Stasi agents how to do something like that, how to operate from starting by spying on them and then moving in and arresting them. And he talks about how to secure the evidence and stuff like that. And this is interesting. Now he says that it's about trying to prevent political damage for the GDR. So this is, they're telling you just plainly what this is about. Normally they wouldn't tell people that, that it's just, basically you haven't committed any crime. All you did was you just made us look bad, you made the people in power look bad. Okay. This is, of course, this is the biggest crime you can commit in a country like that. Or you could commit back then, and they're saying this openly. Normally they wouldn't say this openly, but this is intended for the spies as a training video. So it's interesting how blunt they are. Now it talks about how in March 1983 EMB Roland tipped them off, and after that they started investigating. If you watched The Life of Others, you know what EMB stands for. It means basically, it's also a kind of spy, but it's an unofficial spy, not unofficial. It's an unofficial spy, basically. IMB stands for inoffficial, inoffizieller Mitarbeiter, unofficial employee of the state security. So those are people who have normal jobs, but who were kind of trying to increase their salary by working for the state security, on the side. And this is basically still how it is done in all communist countries that still exist today. And you have this a lot in China still today, where you have in China where you now have those 50. You have the 50-cent brigade, which pretty much infamous for that. Basically they would also fall under that category. The 50-cent brigade. If you don't know, those are the guys in China who are paid to influence the internet. They're actually paid 50 cents for each each post they're making on the internet. And of course, all the posts that they're making are saying like, "Oh, the party is so great," and and trying to direct public opinion, and those would also fall under the category of unofficial employee. They work for the state security, but not full time, only part time. Their full time job is maybe being a student or being some kind of worker or whatever, and they work for the state security part time. And this is what this is talking about, and this is what this guy Roland is. Roland is of course not his real name. It's just again one of those code names they're using. They love using code names. Okay, and now it talks about how their unofficial spy walked into the RAD building, which is basically the building for the West German TV. It's a TV station from West Germany, and he walked into that and talked to some reporter dude, whatever, and during his talks, this reporter guy gets a phone call, and of course, being a spy, he records the phone call. And now it talks about, supposedly in his own voice, how a male guy phoned the television station while he was present, and he could make out the name of the guy who was calling, and they're beeping it out here. And the guy calling was from East Germany and working for a company, for a state-run company in East Germany. And he made clear his intention that he wanted to talk with the West German press, which of course for the Stasi is like the biggest crime. So, and of course after this guy tipped them off, they started their operation. Now the full-time spies step in, the real Stasi steps in and starts the investigation. And after they got tipped off, now they're talking about their objectives. The first objective is trying to identify the caller. Then the second objective is to run a background check, gathering all the information they have about him. And the third objective is, then trying to decide their further steps, what they're going to do specifically. Now they talk about how they were able to pull his photograph, get his photograph, by cooperating with the work unit he works in, because it's all the work units are all they all belong to the state. There's no private enterprise in countries like that. And they show you all the information they were able to pull about this guy. Of course, in this instruction video, again, they're bleeping it all out. They know everything about him. What's his name, where he lives, when he was born, what his preferred sexual preferences are, whatever. And now he talks about how it's not possible that they could have confused him with any other person with a similar name, because they checked all those out and ruled those out. And they haven't... Oh, well, that's not so important. Okay, so now they identified the guy and they're giving him the code name Revisor. And through their... surveillance camera and stuff they have all around the German embassy, they were able to make him out, and were able to see that later that year he was visiting the German embassy, which of course is a great crime again. He was visiting the Western German embassy, It's not, they didn't actually call it embassy because, but this is too complicated. Okay, so now they were able to gather even more information about him, and basically they're listing his entire life biography. They know what he did basically all his life. So, and now it turns out that this Revisor guy they're spying on is actually in the party and was educated at a party university, and is probably a high-ranking party member. But of course, he's not high enough to be immune to to the Stasi. Now they're talking about all the stuff he ever wrote and about his qualifications, and that the people were satisfied and the party was satisfied with what he wrote, and stuff like that. Basically, they know everything about him. So, and now it shows you specifically that he was a party member and the years when he was a party member. And it also says that he quit the party, or he was made to quit the party because he made some comments that they didn't like. And now it goes further on into his psychological profile and his sociological profile and whatnot. Basically, it's really interesting, how they're showing how much they know, and that they basically know. You probably can't even take a dump without them knowing. So yeah, and it's interesting how totally blunt they were about that. It's like, oh, it's totally normal for us to know everything about this guy. At least you get that impression, and of course for those people who worked there, and who worked for the Stasi, they thought they were doing like, oh yeah, this is like a normal job. Yeah, it's totally legit. At least that this must have been the way they were thinking. Now it goes further into his family life, where exactly he lives, and stuff like that, and how he lives. Now they're saying that so far they don't yet know what his motive was for contacting basically the West, and this is what it's all about. This is the crime he committed, trying to make contact with the West, talking with Western reporters and going to the West German embassy. Biggest crime you can commit in communist states. That's how it was in the GDR, and that's how it still is in communist states that still exist. And now they're talking about how they continued spying on him for the next several weeks and months, and but they were not able to determine his motive for making contact with the West. So, and now there is another guy who's who's tipping them off again, and this is IMB Klaus, again another codename and another one of those unofficial employees for the state security. And now they're talking about how reliable Klaus is. And now this is Klaus, by the way, the photo they're showing. Anyway, Klaus was able to look through all the files of some guy while he was not looking, and in those files he stumbled upon their target, Revisor. And now it's talking about some specifics of what the files said and what Klaus was able to find out, and basically it's like their target Revisor was dissatisfied with the working conditions in Eastern Germany, and he made some inquiries regarding that. Basically, that's the gist of it. Okay, and now it talks more about what Revisor wrote, and how in the past he mainly wrote technical literature, specific literature about technical fields. But of late he's been writing poems. But those poems have some subversive undertones, where he's basically, trying to convey in a poetic form that basically his message is that socialism is a lie. He's not saying that directly, but he's kind of, that's the undertone of the poems he's writing of late. And yeah, so yeah, this guy is in big trouble. Oh, and he also tried to imply that there are no human rights in the GDR or in Eastern Germany, which of course, well, is a total lie. Of course, you know, and they have to beat him until he corrects this totally wrong standpoint of his. That's what they're going to do later on. They're probably not going to show that in the movie, but yeah. So anyway, naturally, Revisor is of the totally correct impression that this kind of material he cannot publish in Eastern Germany. So that's why, as it turns out, that's why he's trying to make contact with the West, as he wants to get this stuff published in the West. So now they're talking about how after analyzing all the data they collected about Revisor, or after analyzing all the data they collected about Revisor, they're coming to the conclusion that the stuff he's trying to get published in the West is stuff that puts Eastern Germany in a bad light, and the party in a bad light. So yeah. And now they're talking about if this kind of material he intends to publish would actually get through to the enemy. By the enemy, they're of course referring to Western Germany. It would probably lead into negative press about the GDR in the Western media, and of course they can't allow that. So this guy is, if he would be a murderer, that wouldn't be so bad, But this guy did. This is like way worse than being a murderer. Actually, the chief of the state security in Eastern Germany, he was a murderer. He back before Eastern Germany existed, he killed 2 cops. He shot them for no reason at all, point blank. He just killed two cops, just like that. Just as a revenge. Because those 2 cops, they were imprisoning communists for various crimes that the communists committed. So this guy just goes and shoots the cops because they imprisoned his fellow communists for crimes they committed. So this guy just in cold blood shoots 2 cops, and he goes on becoming the head of the Eastern German secret police. So being a murderer is no big deal, Being a murderer, if you murder people that are enemies of communism, then yeah, that's a great thing, and you become the biggest guy in Eastern Germany and the most powerful guy, and you become the head of the secret police. If you murder the right people. So being a murderer is not a bad thing. But what this guy did, trying to make the GDR and socialism look bad. This is just, this just goes too far, So of course now they're coming to the conclusion that they have to immediately step in and to immediately try to prevent his making contact with the enemy, as they call it. And of course they have to confiscate all the material, all the poems and stuff that he wrote. So now the next step is to look through his room, and search all his stuff. So, of course, they have been observing him for quite some time, made sure that he isn't home, basically involved all the neighbors. Of course, they were also spying on them. And now they're stepping in. And, of course, they're not going to say, oh, we're state security. They're masquerading as firefighters who have to inspect the house for fire hazards. So they found a room where nobody lives, and they made sure nobody lives there, and that's the room they're going to use. And of course, they also made sure that Revisor isn't going to be able to hear them in that room. So now they're talking about how what they're calling a specialist was able to open the door. Just basically he's breaking in. He doesn't have a key. It's just they can open any door within like seconds. They would be like the best shoplifters or whatever. They're best criminals. They probably were the best criminals. That's basically what they were, criminals. So yeah. Okay, now they're going into his room, his apartment, and they're showing you that. And they're making some remarks about him being a bachelor and how untidy his apartment is. So the first thing they're doing is they photograph everything, as you can see. So now they're documenting and writing down everything in writing that lies around the room. And now they found a document which proves in writing that he really did visit the West German reporters and the West German embassy. So, and now they found his poems.
Auf dem Tisch lag des Weiteren eine Klemmmappe mit ca. 200 Blatt DIN A4 mit maschinenschriftlichen Gedichten unter dem Titel Allerlei Gereimtes.
And now they're again documenting everything that he wrote and looking through everything he wrote, and they're listing everything that he wrote, and they're actually saying all the things that they found that he wrote. But it's not significant. It's not. Just most of the stuff is just normal stuff you would expect. It's nothing evil, nothing subversive, whatever. It's just normal, ordinary writings. Various short stories and stuff like that. And of course more poems. And not all of his poems have any kind of innuendos or whatever, but they're interpreting it that way, saying that oh yeah, his poems are subversive or whatever.
Schriftliche Unterlagen zu sichern und beweiskräftig zu dokumentieren, deren Inhalt sich gegen die gesellschaftlichen Verhältnisse in der DDR richtete.
And of course, they also found all his personal writings having to do with his work and his personal lives, and they're documenting all that as well. So, and in the same file cabinet where they found all his writings, they also found a typewriter. And of course, what do when they find a typewriter? They make a sample of his each typewriter has like unique lettering basically, and they make a sample of that so that they can identify any letter or anything that was written with that typewriter.
Sowie diverse betriebliche und berufliche Unterlagen des Revisor. Soweit es die Zeit zuließ, ergab die stichprobenartige Durchsicht der von Revisor gefertigten Gedichte und Romane, dass sich ein großer Teil dieser Machwerke in offener oder versteckter Form gegen die gesellschaftlichen Verhältnisse in der DDR richtete.
Remember, guys, always clean your room, especially when you're not home. You never know who's looking.
Da sie vermutlich von Revisor zur Anfertigung der maschinenschriftlichen Aufzeichnungen benutzt wurde.
I kind of feel sorry for this guy because, on top of being imprisoned afterwards, he also gets his entire apartment exposed to by now it's the whole world. Back then it was just the Stasi offices. But, the good thing is that by now he's probably no longer alive, one way or the other. So he probably never found out about any of that. He was just, imprisoned one day, not knowing why. Now they're talking about all the rest of the stuff they could find in his room, and of course they looked through everything. They're talking about how they even looked through the kitchen and the bathroom and everything, and but they couldn't find anything further, and they couldn't find anything to indicate that Revisor was working as a spy for the West or anything like that. They're actually saying that. So yeah.
3 Fachbücher aus den Jahren 1958 bis 61, die Revisor geschrieben hatte, bzw. an deren Erarbeitung er beteiligt war. Die anschließende konspirative Durchsuchung des Bades, der Küche und der kleinen Abstellkammer abgab keine weiteren operativen...
Now they're showing how they're using, this is basically what they have here in the, is basically they're carrying with them a mobile copying machine, and they are making copies of all the significant documents and writings that they found. They're making copies of that, like right on the scene, like right in the apartment. They're copying all this stuff, so they don't even have to take it with them. They just copy it right there. So then they're gone. Oh, and they found his key in his living room. And of course, they made a copy of that as well. Not that they would need it. You saw how easily they could enter his apartment even without any key.
Der Mappen mit den Gedichten allerlei Gereimtes von 1971 bis 1976 und 1983 sowie die Inhaltsverzeichnisse der anderen Bände. Aufzeichnungen mit Namen, Adressen und Telefonnummern, der Inhalt der Mappe mit den genannten Eingaben sowie persönliche Dokumente wie Reisepass, Sparkassenbuch, Zeugnisse, SVK-Ausweis, um nur einige zu nennen. Des Weiteren wurden von dem im Kleiderschrank vorgefundenen Wohnungsschlüssel Abdrücke gefertigt.
So, and after they finally double-checked everything, and of course put everything back exactly the way it was, that was probably why they were making photos in the beginning, so that they knew where everything was, so they could put it back exactly how it was. And you saw that they were using a Polaroid camera, so they have the photos right away, so they know how to put everything back the way it was. So now they're making sure that they're not leaving any traces of them ever having been there. They're locking the door again, and they leave the house again. And now they're talking about all the evidence they gathered, and they themselves are calling it unofficial evidence. So they're not going to admit that they have ever been there and that evidence ever exists. It's not like they're going to give him a fair trial to begin with. So they really don't need that evidence to exist officially. So they're calling it unofficial evidence. Now they're talking about how, because of that evidence, they made the decision to arrest him, and that decision was approved by the minister. And of course, when they say minister, they're talking about the Minister of State Security, and that was the cop killer I talked about earlier. So now they're talking about how this Revisor guy has committed a crime according to their stupid legal code, which doesn't make any sense and is only there to protect the party, mambo jumbo, and so on. So now they know when he is next going to try and meet this reporter from the West. And they step in before that and arrest him before that, and now they decided on a date when to arrest him. and they're going to arrest him when he is on his way to that meeting. And the reason they're going to arrest him then is because then they're not only arresting him, but of course also, naturally also the guy he's trying to contact, and of course because he wants to give him his poems. They also and his writings and stuff. And he's gonna carry them with him, so they can also confiscate all that. So they basically covered three things with one. They arrest him, they arrest the other guy, and they confiscate all the stuff. The evil poems. So now they're talking about how after the arrest, then they're again going to his room, his apartment, and then they're going to confiscate all the stuff they found in the first place. And now the difference is that they're talking about that when they going to his apartment, then it's going to be official. They're not going to, and then they can use it in court. The stuff, they're not going to admit that they have ever been to his apartment before. They're not going to admit that they already know exactly what he has in this apartment. They're just going to, oh yeah, we arrested you, and now we're sending the police to your apartment to find evidence, and they're going to be like, oh look, we found all those poems in your room that have innuendos against the party. Oh, we didn't know they were there. Good thing we searched your room. What a coincidence, we found them. They're gonna be like that. So now the day of the arrest arrives. They already surveyed his room, and they know exactly when he gets up and what he's doing and stuff. Then he leaves the house at 8:38, and he walks down the street so-and-so. And they're describing exactly the way he's walking, where he's walking. They know exactly what he's carrying with him.
Zettel mit den Notizen zum Termin des Treffs mit Pragal, eine Klemmmappe mit Gedichten,
and they have people like on every street corner. At this point, it wouldn't matter where he goes. There is always going to be someone following him, and there's always going to be someone standing nearby. They have like people everywhere. Oh, and now they're talking about how while he's walking down the street, they're doing another search of his apartment, so that they know exactly what documents are missing, and so that they know exactly what documents he's carrying with him. And now they're listing exactly what he's carrying with him.
Verließ Revisor die U-Bahn-Station Stadtmitte, ging durch die Mohren- und Charlottenstraße zielstrebig auf das Büro des Sternkorrespondenten in der Leipziger Straße 65 zu, welches er um 9:15 Uhr erreichte.
You see some of those guys standing on the street corners and stuff, who are just standing there smoking and stuff. Those are probably also all employees.
Die Festnahme des Revisor möglichst unbeobachtet von Korrespondenten und Diplomaten, insbesondere der BRD und
so now they're talking about how, because when they arrest him, they don't want any people around seeing that, and they don't want any people making photos of the arrest and stuff like that. They want this to go down quietly. So they're not arresting him just yet. So what they're doing is the building he wants to go into, where he's going to meet with the reporter from the West. they're blocking the entrance, saying, "Oh yeah, we have to do repairs. No, you can't walk in here. We have to repair something."
Revisor stimmte
They're blocking
bereitwillig
the
zu
entrance, so they
und wurde
can't
auf
walk
dem
in.
Weg dorthin in der Charlottenstraße um 9:19 Uhr konspirativ festgenommen.
And they're saying, "Oh yeah, well you can't use this door. You have to use the back entrance." So, and as he reaches the back entrance, that's where they arrest him, as you can see. Now they're saying how they were able to basically prevent his poems from falling into the enemy's hand. They're actually saying that enemy's hands. And yeah, and they're saying what a great job all the people from the ministry did, and how they were arresting him and were charging him for well, whatever crimes against the state or party security, whatever mumbo jumbo they're using to basically just prevent people from expressing their opinion, and saying something bad about socialism, which is of course the biggest crime you can
konnten die
commit.
Materialübergabe an den Feind verhindert und somit die Interessen der DDR vor Schaden bewahrt werden.